Hello, Richard Williamson here, and I'm going to be going over my Milestone 4 for my Uno project. Here's my Uno project workflow. The program starts, generates players, creates the deck, shuffles it, deals the cards, and starts the game. And then the player turn, so the player selects a card. Because it's the first turn, they can select any card, and so they pick a random card, they play the card. It goes to card action, and if there's like a reverse action, it changes directions. If the player is supposed to draw cards, they draw cards. If they're supposed to skip a player, it skips a player. If there is a wild, the player picks a color, they play the card, and goes back here uh, for any other card actions. And then, so it checks for a winner. If there's, since it's the first player's turn, it'll say no. And so go back here to player turn, select a card. Any card, no, they have to match. Does it match? No. Do we have a wild? No. Draw a card. Does it match? Yes. Play the card. Then it goes through here to the card action again. Does any actions here? And then it keeps going back to check for winner. And finally, when the winner check comes up with 0 cards, yes, it ends the game. So this one was a little bit more difficult to chart because there's a lot going on. So I apologize if it looks a little messy, but this flow chart works pretty good. And so that is my flow chart. So I'll go here and to my code. I've updated my runner Java. I've added a game Java and a player Java. So the player Java has, the player increments the count and just gets the player name. Just an easy way to identify which player. Set the player hand, get the player hand. This decides which card to play. This one chooses a color if it's a wild. If for some reason we only have a wild left, it'll just default to red. Otherwise, it returns the color that we have, gets the number of cards that we have left, draws a card, declares Uno. The game here. We have our Uno deck, our list of players, random for deciding which player plays. Here's our state information. This is what player's turn it is, which direction we're going. If it's false, we're going forward. If it's uh, true, we go backwards. This gets our list of players and returns it, creates our players, gets our deck, shuffles our deck, starts the game. There should be 4 for our assignment. Um, so we create the players, change our state, get the player, set the player's turn randomly. We shuffle the deck, get our starting hand. We set the player's hand. This gets the next player. This is what makes a player draw cards and the number of cards. So we get which player and the right player to make draw cards. This allows us to skip a player. Reverse checks the state. This checks for a winner. We look for the last player. If they have 0 cards, we have a winner. And this returns the winner, the player that won. And this handles any actions that our cards have. So we'll go in here into our runner Java. And something I ran into is I had a bug where wild cards were not being found right. And so it was going like the game was never ending. And once I fixed that, not all games were never ending, just like 1 out of 5 games were never ending. And so once I fixed that, this is kind of needless, but just in case we have a really long game, I will exit out at 5,000 turns. Our player, yeah, 5,000 cards played. And so here's all this logic. You know, we get our player that's whose turn it is. The first time they can play any card, and then we increment that after we find out if they can play any card. Here's we get the Uno deck. We get the last card that was played. If the last card was wild, we set the current color to the color that the player chose. And then the player, this right here gets the player's card that they chose to play. The card was played, so we add it to the discard pile. This just outputs, you know, a message. And here we handle any actions of the cards like skip, reverse, draw two, wild. Here we choose the color. Declare Uno. It just always declares Uno. There's no logic there for it to miss Uno and a player to pick up on it. And then we check for the winner. And this keeps looping through until we have a winner, and then we get down here and it shows our winner. So go ahead and run my application. And then in 52 cards played, we have player 2 as the winner. The last card they played was a yellow draw 2. Oh, I need to take that out. Anyways, that was a debugging thing. So yeah, that is my self-playing Uno game. I had lots of fun doing it, and yeah, thank you very much. Again, my name is Richard Williamson, and I wrote this code. And yeah.